Alright, CNT120, Chapter 6 Lab. We just got done adding the access point into our network. So we're now going to work on connecting our wireless devices up to the network and making sure they're configured and can communicate. So first thing, we're going to work on the laptop. So on the laptop here, we're going to open this guy up, and we'll notice it has a wired NIC, not a wireless NIC. So the first thing we'll need to do is we're going to shut off the laptop here. We're going to pull this wired NIC out, slide it over there. I'm going to come up here and grab the wireless NIC. I even tell you here, WPC300N. We'll grab this guy, drag him over, and drop him into the laptop there, and we'll turn him back on. So we now have a wireless network card installed. We're going to go to the desktop and use the PC wireless app to connect up to our network. So let's go out here to the desktop. Here's our PC wireless app. We'll open that up, and we'll go to the Connect tab. We're going to wait a second or two, and we should hopefully see our SSID for our wireless network show up. There it is. We're going to highlight that, and we're going to go Connect. And we're going to verify our security, WPA2 personal, yep. And we're going to plug in the pre-shared key. That was the one we configured in the access point, password 1. Again, this is case sensitive, so watch your typing. Password 1, and I'm going to do Connect. I'm going to give it a second or two to communicate and connect up. We'll come back over here to link information. We should see a link there. That's good. I'm going to close this utility out, and then I'm going to go to the IP config tab and make sure we're set for DHCP. So I'll come over to the IP config tab, and I should be seeing like a 192.160.128 kind of thing. If I don't, just click on static, wait a couple seconds, come back to DHCP. It should hopefully pick up an IP address from our network, and I should again be seeing a 128 subnet right there. That's the subnet for our wireless users. So this guy should be communicating on the network. Excellent. Let's now get our tablet and our smartphone connected up. These will be just a little easier. We're going to, in these guys here, on the tablet, we're actually just going to use the config tab here. Okay, I'm not sure there's, if you go to the desktop here, there isn't really that wireless utility like we had on the laptop. So we're going to go to the config tab. Once we're on the config tab, we'll select wireless. We have to make sure there's Bluetooth, cellular, wireless. We need to make sure we're using the wireless. That way it's using the wireless NIC, if you will. We're going to look for our wireless users or Wi-Fi users. Here we need to plug it in. We need to plug the SSID in. Again, this is case sensitive, so type very carefully. WPA2 pre-shared key. We'll plug in our password 1. Again, case sensitive, so watch your typing. Down here, I'm going to toggle this to DHCP, so it hopefully will pick up an IP address for us. So we're going to wait a second or two, and then we're going to, if we see this kind of thing show up, let's do static again, and then DHCP, see if we can cycle it to get it to work. If it does not, that's fine. Okay, I think I have you here go to, it's like DHCP. If need be, what we can do, if it's still not pulling up a 128 there, if you go to the desktop IP config, you can cycle it here as well. You can say, I don't want static, come over here to DHCP, and it should hopefully pull up the full IP address for us. Okay, and as you saw, mine was not fully in there, so, if necessary, cycle that through so you get the full IP address, IP, subnet mask, gateway, etc. So this guy should be connected up to the network. Let's go over here now to the smartphone. And there we go. We have it fully negotiated to the access point. We're going to do the same process here on the smartphone. We'll go to Config, Wireless, Wi-Fi users here. Again, watch your typing, case sensitive. WP2 pre-shared key, password 1. I'll come down here and do DHCP. I clicked the wrong one. There we go. WPA2 pre-shared key. There we go. I was going quicker than I was reading, if you will. So I'll cycle this to DHCP. Hopefully it'll pick up our 192, which it is. But I think I'm still going to go to the desktop here, IP config, and cycle this the whole way through. That way it's picking up the full IP address configuration. so let's do static, wait a couple seconds, and then we'll go back to DHCP. And let it do the full request. There we go. Now we're getting the full IP address config from our 128 subnet for the wireless network. So if I close this guy out, wait a couple seconds, I should see that link come back as well. And I do. Excellent. So we now should have all of our devices connected up in the network. What we're going to do here in the next part is verify that we do have connectivity, and we're going to gather proof as we go. So what we're going to do is we'll open up our laptop here, and we'll do a browse and ping test, if you will. I think I have you here to do a ping, and I'm literally just going to ping the website over there, CNT.org, and I should get successfuls. And then I'm going to try to browse to that as well. And I want to make sure I have connectivity. If I don't, I'm going to redo those IP config steps that we did, cycle to static, back to dynamic, and pick up the full IP address. And we're going to, there we go. We're browsing and we're communicating the network. So at this point, what I can do is down here, I want to gather IP config and a trace. So I'm going to go here to my command prompt, ipconfig, and the part we really want is this wireless part here. You can include the Bluetooth, that is fine, but I'm going to grab the ipconfig here, right-click copy. I started a text file earlier. Here's my Chapter 6 lab, and I put a spot for the laptop, so I'm going to paste that in there. There's the ipconfig for the laptop. And the other thing we want to do is we want to do a trace to the CNT.org. So trace RT www.cnt.org. And there we go. We have a full pathway hitting our router, hitting the ISP, hitting the server over there. So I will copy this guy and I will paste this in. So that should be full connectivity for the laptop. I'll scroll down here and I'm going to end up doing the same type of thing for each of the other devices. So I'm going to close out the laptop. I'm going to go to the tablet here. And let's go to command prompt on this guy. Again, we'll do ping. Make sure we got it. We do. And we're going to make sure we can browse. Opening the web browser in these always takes a couple seconds. It's like, you can do it, little computer. You can do it. There we go. And now I'm going to, I'll gather my proof. I kind of closed that out too quickly there. ipconfig. Now don't let this panic you, because we have the ipconfig wireless, cellular, and Bluetooth. Now we don't really need the last two, so this time I can actually copy just this top one. But if you get the other ones, it's not a big deal. So here's my tablet. I will paste that in. And while I'm here, I'm going to do my trace route. Trace RT, www.cnt.org. Again, I should be hitting the router, ISP, and then the website over there. Copy that guy. We will paste that in. And then we'll come down here to the smartphone. And we're going to do the same process on the smartphone. Open that guy up, and let's just go right to the browser on this one this time. And see if we have connectivity. You can do it. You can do it, little browser. Yay! So now let's go right to our command prompt on this one. ipconfig on this guy. Again, we're going to see all three: wireless, cellular, Bluetooth. We really only need the first one. If you include the other ones, that's A-okay. Copy this guy. Paste this one in. And then we're going to do our trace. There we go. And we will copy this guy and paste him in. And we'll save. Now, before we go any further, make sure, I'm going to come up here. I have the laptop. I have its IP config. There's a Bluetooth. That's all right. Here's its IP config, and we're seeing 128.11. Okay. There's this trace to CNT.org. Here's our tablet. Here's its wireless config 128.12. Make sure you're seeing different numbers here and you didn't accidentally paste the same config twice. And then there's its trace. And then down here was our smartphone 128.13. So if you see 3 different IP addresses there, you know you didn't accidentally paste the same thing twice. Then there is its trace as well. So we're going to save that. And at this point, we have all there's our tablet, and then down here was the smartphone. At this point, we have all the pieces we need to submit our lab. So I'm going to save that right there. And if you again just take a quick peek, we had an existing network here. We had a spot carved out to add in the wireless access point into this 30 VLAN here, and the router understands that 30 VLAN. So the desktops, the phones, and the wireless are all on 3 different layer 2 and layer 3 networks, keeping the traffic separate. Looking ahead, people that move on to CNT125, we actually configure all of this in real in our lab equipment in the lab room to make all this work. Configuring all the VLANs here on the switch, all the configuration of the router. We add a wireless in, and then we actually put some more config on the router to do NAT, DHCP, NAT, etc. But then we also put some filtering rules on the router to filter traffic. And we start allowing, like the desktop employees to do a lot on the network, and these wireless users, we let them do almost nothing, because that's very much real life. Any wireless users, you very much limit them because you're not quite sure who's bringing a wireless device in. So we do all of this kind of configuration for real in the lab room in our CNT125 class. So just kind of looking down the road for you. But there is our Chapter 6 lab.